But we begin hour number 2 with Patrick Mahomes. It's been a while. Who, despite not playing in any preseason game, says he is on track to return to the field in time for KC's opener against the Broncos, September 14th. All right, so Geoff, you call yourself a Chiefs fan, and you played for the Chiefs. Your brother played for the Chiefs and won a ring. You follow them very closely. What concerns for Mahomes do you have? Let's assume he plays, and he will. For Mahomes week 1, what are your concerns? Not the season, just week 1.
Just trust and confidence, right? When you're coming back from injury, that's the toughest part as a player, is trusting your body to do the same things you did previously, and then, of course, doing that with people running around your legs. He's going to make that first throw when someone's around his legs. How does he do that with confidence, right? How do you not have a flashback to the bad things that happen? And I've done various points in my career where I've missed a season and come back. I've had where I've missed a couple weeks and come back, and every time you step on that field, you think to yourself, okay, do I still have it? Do I still have it, right? Because look, practice is not a game. Practice is what it is. There's a value to it, obviously, but the games ramp up, right? Week 1's a certain tempo, and then week 8's a certain tempo, and then obviously the playoff becomes a tempo that's ramped up a lot. So for me, it's just how confident does he look in week 1? It might not be that confident in week 1. It might take week 2 and week 3 and week 4. What do the Chiefs do offensively to help Mahomes? They went and got Kenneth Walker for a reason. And when you look at what they've done schematically in the preseason, I get everyone says, oh, preseason doesn't matter. No, it matters a little bit. And the Chiefs are under center a little bit more, right, Coach? Like they're running the ball under center. They're doing a little more play action pass under center. The screen game appears to be back a little bit. Now they have more of a running back that I think can do it, where they really didn't have backs previously. They could do the screen game. So I want to see the trust he has in himself, the movement skills that he has, and then I want to see how the offense evolves around Mahomes as he returns from injury. I think he will be fine at some point this season, Coach. It might not be week 1. Week 1 might be a little bit off. The wide receivers, he hasn't really worked with this group altogether. There's a 5th-round pick in Cyrus Allen who they're hoping gets a lot of run. Obviously, Rashee Rice, how healthy is he coming off his summer? So there's a lot of questions I have just sort of week 1, what it looks like. I have a ton of faith it'll look good by week 3 or 4, Coach. I think he'll be fine soon enough.
Yeah, I agree with their approach of not playing him in the preseason, and the big difference is everything's been controlled, and so now in the game he's just going to have to react. So his instincts are going to kick in, and how will his body respond when he's reacting instinctively, as opposed to what's been a controlled environment. So there's that component of it. Will he still be looking to vacate the pocket and run around and make plays, which has been such a core part of what he does, but probably isn't the best thing for him to do much early on? What factor will rust come into play with this? Last year he was sacked at the highest rate he had been sacked in his career. So has that problem been fixed, and or are we going to have more of the same this season? And look, he didn't play very well last year. At the end of the year, he did not play very well at all. So it's not like he's coming off this elite season, having the injury going into the next year. Where is he just compared to where he finished the season last year? How much of that is injury? How much of that is whatever it was last year?
So maybe this will come back to bite me. I have a lot of concerns about the Chiefs week 1. I don't have a lot of Mahomes concerns week 1. Guys come back from ACL injuries and are fine, especially like the elite Superman type athletes, of which he clearly is. I have got no indication from him at any point that he personally is going to be limited by this. Like, what version of Rashee Rice are we getting week 1? I got some questions about him. He has not been the most dependable person since he's been in the league. I think the Chiefs' offensive line is going to be fine, but I don't know that they're going to be great week 1 against the Broncos pass rush. They have some injuries on the O-line right now, and the Broncos pass rush is excellent. How much does Travis Kelce have left? How much does Chris Jones have left? Have they found a pass rush in the offseason to make Bo Nix uncomfortable? Is the completely retooled secondary that's very young going to be ready week 1 going up against Bo Nix and Sean Payton and Jalen Waddle being added there? Denver's a tough week 1 assignment for Kansas City. And that could be what comes down to the division and all that. I get why we talk about it, and I'm not saying it is not a story. He hasn't played in the preseason. We haven't seen him since the injury. But I will be very surprised if by the third quarter of that game, we're talking about Mahomes being limited by his knee.
But if all the things that you have questions about, if some of those play a big factor. They can't deal with the pass rush. So now you got Mahomes coming off an injury, having to deal with a leaky offensive line. If they get behind Denver and he's got to extend a bunch of plays, how well is he going to be able to do that? And he is an elite athlete, and he's done everything that he's been asked to do, and he's been very proactive with the way that he's rehabbed this, which is exactly what you'd like to see. There is a difference, though, between seeing it in the controlled environment and actually having to respond and go through those first few times where scar tissue pops, or there's a noise you're not used to, all the things that come with rehabbing from an injury.
There's always that first contact you have and doesn't feel maybe quite right. You think to yourself, like, did this happen again?
Right.
Like, is that just like a little scar tissue breaking up, or is that a little inflammation here and there, which he'll have the first time he gets hit? You mentioned something, Dan, that's important to know, because it's hard to quantify this, but I think it's certainly true. The guys I play with that are superstars, they recover from injury better than the regular people do, the regular athletes.
I was going to say, you're counting yourself as a regular person.
And like, no, in this instance I am. Like, I had the same injury Alex Mack had, who was a center for the Browns at the same time, with the same injury. He's a much better athlete than me. He came back, he was fine. I never recovered quite the same way. I played with Adrian Peterson one year where he had a sports hernia. He played the entire back half of the season with a sports hernia. He didn't practice all week, played on Sunday, rushed for 200 yards on a Sunday. These guys that are just these extra special players, one of their superpowers is extra special recovery. And Mahomes is one of these guys, too, that's going to come back from his injury. We've seen him at different times throughout his career come back from injury and play fine. You don't even notice it's going to happen. And so I do expect him to make a full recovery and to come back. But that first hit's going to be so important. How does that first hit happen? Is it just a regular sack? Is it someone that has legs? Is it a scramble? Like, I'm curious how he responds to that one hit first time, and I think he'll be fine after that.
What I found with injuries and athletes, there are differences, but each guy, that's why we never would talk about timelines for injury recovery, because you can say, well, an ACL should take this amount of time, but what we found is each human being responds a little bit different to the same injury, and I really am hopeful that this is as good a recovery as Patrick has portrayed it to be.
I had many coaches tell me timelines, so maybe I should have played for you.
Be back by week 6.
I had many coaches tell me, it's a 3-week injury, right? Right, Schwartz? Yeah, so I've maybe had different experience than you.
We never talked about timelines.
Publicly or internally?
Internally, you know what ranges are, but each guy was so different, and some guys can come back a lot quicker, and some guys take longer, so if you just let it happen how it happens, it always worked out better.
It's not fun being the longer guy sometimes.
Why aren't you back yet?
They're like, what's wrong with you? I can't walk yet, coach. That's why I'm not playing.
Have you seen my ankle? Let's talk about another superstar with an injury, not quite as serious as Patrick Mahomes. We go to L.A., where you might have heard the Rams made a small addition, best defensive player of his generation in Myles Garrett, but he's been sidelined with what they're calling minor knee swelling. He's missed 12 practices due to the swelling. Now, their head coach, Sean McVay, was asked, are you guys just being really cautious, or is this really serious? So we were looking this up. Myles Garrett has not missed a game due to a football injury since his rookie year. Rookie year, had a concussion, I think it was an ankle injury, missed like 5 games. Since every game he's missed, it was a game for rest, he's missed suspension, car accident, COVID. Like, this guy plays. He's like a bionic man. So I am assuming that Myles Garrett is okay here. I don't know if anyone disagrees. They can weigh in. But it did bring up the thought of, like, is injury the only thing that could derail the Rams?
It's probably not great he's missed 12 practices with a swollen knee, and that 15-hour flight to Australia is not going to help him. That's not going to be great. I'm actually kind of curious about that. Now, the Rams decided to sort of fly in and fly out like a regular schedule and not give themselves the opportunity to sort of get acclimated there. That's a long flight, and what happens during flying, you swell. So I'm curious to see how that swelling goes for him. But yeah, I mean, injuries, I feel like when you look at the roster they have, it's a very top-heavy roster to say, not a lot of depth. So injuries will kill him. But if Myles Garrett's healthy and the top-line guys are healthy, they're going to win a ton of football games. They made the changes, coach, they needed, right? They needed more pass rush, they got it. They needed secondary, they got it. The offense we know is good. Obviously, Puka Nacua at some point this year playing a lot of football would certainly help them as well. But it's not nothing to miss 12 practices with a swollen knee. It might not be long-term, but it could be something they have to manage throughout the season.
Yeah, when you look at their stats last year. So they finished first in total offense, first in points, first in passing offense, and I think it was 7th in rushing offense. So that's on that side. On the defensive side, they finished 10th in points, and I think it was 17th or 18th in pass defense, and that was the weakness. So what do? They go get the 2 hardest positions, which is cornerback. They get 2 starting cornerbacks and a defensive end. So that's what you're always looking for in the draft, corners and defensive ends. That's going to affect the passing game. And the defensive end they get is the defensive MVP with 23 sacks. So the difference between them and Seattle is 3 points over 3 games. You would assume that them addressing those positions of need, and there just being a 3-point differential, and I know it can go any way at any point, but you understand why there's so much hype behind the Rams. With him missing 12 practices, I feel like the Rams give a little bit more rest to players than a lot of coaches do.
Yeah, McVay is. Yeah. I don't play the guys who matter in the preseason.
He also doesn't travel them. They don't even travel to away games.
Yeah, it's a different approach, but it's been an approach that's worked really well for him, and he has had a lot of older players that he's managed successfully. And to what you had talked about with Miles, he hasn't missed because of a football-related injury. So you'd imagine this is precautionary. Let's get him feeling as good as we possibly can. And last season, Matthew Stafford, we were talking about, is he going to play? Look how much practice he's missed. And that worked out okay.
I ended up getting off the Rams last year because Stafford didn't practice the entire summer. And I'm like, older quarterback going to hurt his back again this season. Then he made all of us to get off the Rams.
Yeah, it was just an MVP year. Led the league in touchdowns. No big deal.
I'm a dummy.
I was trying to think about it, because injuries can derail any team.
Right.
I do think that they are a top-heavy roster. Even though they have drafted well, they do not have blue-chip draft prospects because they keep trading away their first-round picks in order to give themselves a top-heavy roster. So they're the type of team where, if the wrong guy or guys get hurt, I feel like they maybe don't have as much depth behind them. They've got stars at a lot of positions, so that would be one thing.
But think about what you just said. They have stars at a lot of positions.
They do have stars at a lot of positions.
Most teams, if the wrong guy gets hurt, he's the star, and then there's a supporting cast. They have a lot of people who could be on the marquee.
What about just age? I know you don't normally just completely fall off a cliff at quarterback. Stafford is 38. Now, it'd be rare to go from MVP to bad, but Devontae Adams led the league in touchdowns last year. He's 33. Yeah. Stafford's 38. There's a potential Puka suspension. There's a potential Alaric Jackson, their left tackle, suspension. People don't really love Coleman Shelton as the center. The offensive line is
it's a question mark.
Is polarizing, I would say, in the NFL community. I'm grasping at straws. Any team in the league would trade their problems for the Rams' problems, but I do think that it's a top-heavy roster with some of their stars are old.
And we talk about this a lot. The older teams, the problem is, as the season goes on, those guys slow down, the injuries mount. We see it with San Francisco. They typically have one of the oldest rosters in the league. We saw it with Washington. I think they have the oldest roster in the league. So if you lean towards age, experience, you have the downside of a higher injury probability, where the younger rosters, but mid-season, those guys tend to take a leap because they're getting stronger, they're building, and they're getting more experience. So yeah, it's a real concern. And the other nice thing we didn't talk about is Aaron Donald may come out of retirement and play, and it's not like they're adding another star potentially that's just sitting there. At any point they can push the button, and if he wants to come back and add him to the roster.
I think the good thing for the Rams is the age, though, is really only a handful of guys, right? Stafford, obviously, and then you would have Devontae Adams, and I guess you put Myles Garrett in that category as older
He's 30.
players. It's not like the Niners, who just have sort of a plethora of older players. There's a mix with the Rams of young and old, and everyone needs to remain healthy. The age thing now, man, the guys, the way they recover and the prehab and rehab stuff, guys just play longer now, and they do it at a higher rate, especially quarterback position, than ever before. And so I don't really worry as much about that. I do think when it starts going downhill, especially quarterback, it's pretty noticeable. It comes off a cliff pretty fast. But guys just play so much longer now. I don't really, the age to me is not as much of a concern, specifically that position, it's ever been.
Yeah, recovery's so much better. Taking care of your body has improved so much over time. The amount of wear and tear that you get during the course of the season because of the limited padded practices, preseason shorter. It's been a lot of things that have helped contribute to that.
When I knew we were doing this topic, I spent a lot of time looking at the Rams roster, and I was just like, I mean,
It's really good.
It's really good.
It's one of their favorites in Super Bowl.
Kyron Williams has just been crazy productive. They can run the ball. They've got 2 awesome receivers. They have some tight end depth. They've got a great coach, a great quarterback, a great pass rush. They've got youth on the defensive line. They have talent in their secondary. Like continuity of system on both sides of the ball. Like it's tough. Any team in the league would trade problems.
It feels like they're also protecting themselves at some place too, because like Blake Corum comes in all the time and rushes really well for them, right? And we know running back is a heavily injured position. They've invested at quarterback, right? Ty Simpson might not be ready to play now, but they have someone there who in theory is talented enough to play for them if Stafford misses any sort of weeks too. So they've done a good job, I think, of backfilling some of the important positions that do tend to have a little more injury.
Got to fly all the way to Australia, though, lose to a talented Niners team, and you could be 0-1, though, in one of the toughest divisions in football.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.